It started to feel real, folks. We're officially less than a month away from tipping off the NBA regular season, and Boston is buzzing with anticipation. The Celtics are gearing up to face the Philadelphia 76ers in what could be a serious tone-setter for the months ahead. And let me just say, if you've seen those recent photos of Joel Embiid looking leaner than ever, you might be wondering if we're about to see Joel Olympic out there instead of the regular season version. But with all that hype swirling, Boston still got some big question marks heading into the season. One of those? Russell Westbrook. Yes, you heard that right. Westbrook's name is back in the mix when it comes to potential moves the Celtics might make before the season kicks off. According to recent reports, including one from Fox Sports, Boston is being floated as one of the top potential landing spots for Russ, who remains unsigned. Now, depending on who you ask, that's either exciting or concerning. The pitch from Fox Sports was simple. The Celtics can't lean solely on being a lockdown defensive unit going forward. They need scoring versatility, guys who can create their own shot, and someone who brings relentless energy off the bench. In their eyes, Westbrook checks those boxes. But let's be real for a second. Westbrook, at this point in his career, is not a game-changing piece for a title contender. He's not the MVP-level player he once was. What he is, though, is a floor raiser. A guy who, in the chaos of an NBA regular season, can carry your second unit, inject life into the rotation, and help you survive those nights when your stars are resting or struggling. And from a Celtics perspective, that's a real value, especially if you're trying to compete without going all in. Last season, Russ suited up in 75 games for the Denver Nuggets. Surprising, right? A lot of people didn't even realize he was there. And honestly, it felt like a good fit. He clicked with Nikola Jokic in spurts, knew how to operate in the space that Denver's offense creates, and seemed to find his footing as a high-energy backup to Jamal Murray. Sure, there were some reported tensions in the playoffs, notably with Aaron Gordon, but nothing that screamed dysfunction. What stood out more was how well Russ adapted to a role that wasn't built around him. He gave them nearly 14 points per game, 5 boards, 6 assists, shot 44% from the field, and surprise, finished 7th in Sixth Man of the Year voting. That's not nothing. Now, would he be the perfect bench leader in Boston? Maybe. If you're running with a starting 5 like Neemias Queta at the 5, Oshie Brissett at the 4, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White in the backcourt, with Jaylen Brown filling in the wing's scoring role, then having someone like Russ anchor your second unit starts to make a little more sense. You'd have Simons out there too, assuming he's still on the roster, and maybe even stagger Jaylen or Derek to play alongside Russ. Suddenly, your bench rotation includes Westbrook, Simons, Sam Hauser for spacing, and a couple of high-upside wings like Jordan Walsh or Baylor Shireman. But, and here's the flip side, if the Celtics are quietly leaning toward a retooling year, maybe not a full-on tank, but a soft reset to position themselves better for the draft or cap flexibility, then Westbrook becomes a less logical fit. He's not a development piece. He's not there to mentor. He's there to hoop, and not in a chill, 10 minutes a night kind of way. He's going to want minutes, possessions, control. And that doesn't always jive with a young team trying to figure out its identity. There's also the question of motivation. Russ reportedly wanted to stay on the West Coast. His camp made it clear early in the offseason that California was the preference. That's why all the noise about Sacramento made sense at first. The Kings were reportedly interested, potentially even looking to move off Malik Monk to make space. Imagine a guard rotation in Sacramento with Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook. Not bad in theory. But the Lakers' ship has sailed. The Clippers made big moves for Chris Paul and Bradley Beal, and Golden State just doesn't seem like a fit. So if California's out, maybe Russ does consider Boston. Maybe he's willing to come back east for the right role and the right opportunity. After all, the Celtics still have a roster spot open and could use that type of energy injection. Financially, it would be a cheap deal. At this stage, Russ isn't commanding big money, and Boston could probably get creative with a veteran minimum or a partially guaranteed contract. The risk is minimal. The upside? Maybe you get a reliable, high-motor vet who can take pressure off the young guys and give you consistent second-unit production. It wouldn't be the worst idea if they're serious about making a push in the East this season. But then again, that brings us back to the bigger picture. What exactly is Boston's goal this year? Are they trying to stay competitive and avoid a free fall post-Porzingis? Or is this season more about experimentation, giving extended run to the younger pieces, and seeing who fits alongside Jason Tatum next year when the roster is hopefully more settled? That's where things get really interesting. Because it's not just Westbrook that's available. There's still guys like Ben Simmons floating around out there. Gary Payton too. DeAnthony Melton. And of course, Al Horford. Big Al. Still unsigned. Still out there. Still a fan favorite who could walk back into Boston and instantly be embraced as the ultimate veteran leader. There are voices in the fan base who think bringing Al back makes more sense than gambling on someone like Russ. And you know what? That's not a crazy take. Because when you're trying to evaluate young talent, sometimes you need that calming, stabilizing presence in the locker room more than you need another ball-dominant guard. And that's what Al provides. He's been through it all. He's won here. He knows what it takes to win in Boston. And if the Celtics are going to run this season like a long-form audition for next year's real roster, why not let Big Al be the steady hand guiding the ship? Still, the off-season drama hasn't stopped there. Over in Golden State, things have turned into a full-blown soap opera with Jonathan Kuminga. No move yet, no extension signed, and all the leaks point to serious dysfunction. The Warriors clearly want to turn Kuminga into a trade asset, but he's holding firm, reportedly asking for more money and leveraging his position. And it's not just front office drama anymore. Apparently, even Jimmy Butler's camp has reached out to the Warriors, possibly sniffing around for a potential move or just poking the bear. Either way, that's the last thing Golden State needs right now. The Warriors went from a model franchise to a team stuck between timelines and egos. And in the middle of that, guys like Kuminga are trying to squeeze leverage where they can. From Boston's perspective, all of this just makes the Al Horford possibility a little more enticing. Maybe the Warriors drag this out. Maybe Al waits for a better situation. But Boston could offer him a clear role, some closure, and another real chance to suit up in green one more time. And look, Boston still has room to maneuver. Brad Stevens hasn't made his final move yet. And while the Simon situation remains unresolved, it's obvious that something else is coming. Whether it's a cap-clearing trade, a veteran signing, or a younger prospect pickup, don't expect this roster to be locked until we're deep into training camp. The real question is what kind of move sets this team up best for the future, and whether a wild card like Russ is part of that vision. But whatever happens, this season is going to be revealing. The Celtics need to find out what they really have with guys like Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, and Nemias Quetta. Can they contribute in meaningful minutes? Do they have the tools to grow into long-term rotation players? That's what Boston fans should be watching for. Not just the wins and losses, not just the box scores, but the development curve, the chemistry, the signs of who's going to be in that foxhole next to Jason Tatum when this team makes its next real run. So now we shift from the hypothetical to the practical. Because while names like Westbrook and Horford bring buzz, the real story of the Boston Celtics this season is going to come from the guys already here. And that's where things get interesting. There's this unspoken challenge on the table, not just from Brad Stevens or Joe Mazzulla, but from the direction of the franchise itself. Who's ready to step up? Let's start with Hugo Gonzalez. The Real Madrid product has flown under the radar for most casual fans, but the Celtics clearly see something in him. He's not flashy. He's not going to go out and drop 20 points on any given night. But what he does bring is a complete understanding of the little things. The glue guy DNA. He makes smart cuts, jumps passing lanes, makes the extra pass, contests shots, and just keeps the offense moving. The question is whether that style translates in the NBA, where everything is faster, more physical, and more punishing. If it does, Boston may have found an absolute gem. A player who doesn't need the ball to be effective and complements stars like Tatum and Brown with effort and IQ. Then you've got Baylor Shireman. There were flashes at the end of last season and again in the Summer League. He's a guy who can shoot, handle, and create a bit in the open floor. But this is the year where he has to show he can do it consistently against real NBA competition. Boston needs players who can space the floor, yes, but more than that, they need guys who can survive on both ends. If Baylor can prove he belongs in a rotation and hold his own defensively, he could very well sneak into meaningful minutes by the middle of the season. And in a roster this open, that's all you need, just one good month to make a case. Jordan Walsh, on the other hand, is entering his third season. This is supposed to be the leap year. He's got the athleticism. He's got the wingspan. He's got the upside. But the clock is ticking. Year 3 in the NBA is when you either carve out your lane or start getting passed over by newer projects. What's in a bag? That's the question. Is Walsh ready to be more than just a highlight defender? Can he give you anything reliable on the offensive end? If he can't, it becomes a tough ask to keep him on the floor, no matter how many raw tools he brings. But if it clicks, if he finds his rhythm, suddenly you've got a switchable wing who could make a real difference. Even someone like Luka Garza deserves a look. He's not going to anchor a defense, and he may not be the future at the 5, but you never know how a guy develops when he finally gets consistent minutes and a coaching staff willing to invest in him. Same goes for Neemias Queta. There's a window here, and the Celtics need to find out who they can trust when the games start to matter. Because if Tatum returns, and this team still doesn't know what it has in these younger players, it's going to be another cycle of scrambling for depth at the worst possible time. And that's exactly why the Russell Westbrook conversation, while spicy, feels almost like a side story. Because the real focus, at least internally, has to be on the evaluation of this roster. Not just who can score, not just who can defend, but who fits, who's ready to contribute consistently, who's going to show they can step into a bigger role next season. Because if this is truly a transitional year, and let's be honest, it is, then Boston has to treat it like a proving ground. Of course, this evaluation period isn't happening in a vacuum. There are financial stakes involved. The Celtics are trying to navigate a brutal luxury tax situation that basically forced them to detonate what could have been a contending core. Simons, for example, remains a fascinating piece of the puzzle. He's clearly talented, but his future with the team is anything but certain. If Boston knows they can't afford to re-sign him, then the smart move is to trade him before the deadline, get something back, and avoid losing him for nothing. But that's easier said than done. Other teams know Boston's leverage is shaky. They know the Celtics don't want to pay Simons what he'll probably demand. So offers are going to be light. You might end up flipping him for second-round picks, which would absolutely feel underwhelming considering his talent. But that's the cost of doing business when you're trying to dodge tax penalties that could balloon into the hundreds of millions. And while we're on the topic of trades, don't rule out one more shakeup before the season starts. Brooklyn and Utah are two teams to watch closely. The Nets have cap space, extra bodies on standard contracts, and the flexibility to take on deals if they like a player. The Jazz are just under the cap and could be a destination if the Celtics want to offload salary like Simons or even bring in someone like Jusuf Nurkic, who's been mentioned as a potential fit. None of these are blockbuster deals. These are strategic, back-end moves to better align the team financially while still keeping a competitive product on the floor. That's the tightrope Boston is walking right now, trying to field a team that can win games and develop talent without locking themselves into another expensive, unsustainable core. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are growing louder in Boston as the Celtics reportedly make a bold move that could shake the NBA landscape. The arrival of a Filipino duo that has fans buzzing with excitement. Kai SOTTO, the towering center who has long been a symbol of basketball hope in the Philippines, is said to be joining forces with RHENZ ABANDO, a sharpshooting wing known for his electrifying plays and clutch performances overseas. Sources close to the team hint that the Celtics see this pairing not just as talent acquisitions, but as a strategic gamble aimed at blending athleticism, skill, and international flair. Insiders suggest that SOTTO, standing at an imposing height, brings the rim-protecting presence the Celtics have been craving. His growth as a player in recent years, from dominating regional leagues to testing himself against elite competition, has reportedly impressed Boston's front office. Meanwhile, ABANDO is rumored to bring a scoring punch and versatility that could allow the Celtics to stretch defenses in ways they haven't before. Together, the two could form a complementary duo, blending SOTTO's interior dominance with ABANDO's perimeter threat, a combination that fans are already calling lethal in speculative whispers on social media. What's fueling the buzz further is the timing. With the NBA season approaching, the Celtics are believed to be quietly reshaping their roster for both depth and global appeal. The potential addition of two of the Philippines' brightest stars would not only energize the fan base, but also open doors for new marketing and international attention. Rumors even suggest that team executives see this as an opportunity to tap into Southeast Asian markets, capitalizing on the growing enthusiasm for basketball in that region. While nothing is officially confirmed, speculation is reaching a fever pitch. Sports analysts and bloggers are already debating how the Filipino duo could fit into Boston's system, with some predicting immediate impact and others cautioning that adjustment to the NBA's pace will be critical. Still, the chatter is electric. Could SOTTO and ABANDO be the spark the Celtics need to return to championship contention? Only time will tell, but for now, Boston fans and Filipino basketball supporters around the world are watching closely, hoping that this rumored pairing isn't just a dream, but the next big story in the league. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.